Now, the DA is calling for the immediate reconvening of Parliament to allow the relevant committees to find solutions to the wave of violence gripping parts of the country. The opposition party says the public needs to see their representatives working together to quell the violence. DA Chief Whip Natasha Mazzone says South Africans are terrified of the turmoil inflicting the country, but its leaders are missing in action. In fact, Natasha Mazzone joins us now on the line from Cape Town. Natasha, a very good morning to you. Thanks again for your time on the AM report. So, what's your reading of the current situation and what you reckon the next steps should be in terms of Parliament reconvening?
Michelle, I think hearing what Becky Cele has found on the ground, the talks of people with massive amounts of live ammunition, definitely sinister forces at work going way beyond protest, using protest simply as smoke screens for what seems to be people trying to start some kind of war effort. This mass destruction and complete devastation of areas in KZN. I think that Parliament needs to meet immediately. Parliament is currently on recess. I think the people of South Africa are looking for their leaders. They're asking questions, and rightly so. Where are the leadership of South Africa? Where are the ministers? Where are the MPs? And what are they doing? A very big question to ask is, where is the leader of government business? Is he back in the country? Is he back from Russia? These are very pertinent questions to be asked while the country burns. We need to have our leadership on the ground. The fact of the matter is Parliament can do a lot, and we saw yesterday just quite what Parliament can do when we put aside our politics, we put South Africa first, and we all work towards the same goal. We saw thousands of SANDF being deployed into KZN to assist police efforts. We saw the massive effect that it had both in KZN as well as having in parts of Gauteng where violence was breaking out. And we need to, the main thing is people need to see that people that they have elected are not sitting at home in their bunkers, hiding away, that they are on the ground, that they are working, that they are in committee. And the biggest thing is that South Africans see it transparently, because we are the People's Parliament for a reason. It's why Parliament is broadcast on TV. It's so that people can hear discussions that we're having, they can hear decisions that we are making, and they can hear what their public representatives are putting on the table to make sure that we come together to quell this violence before it gets completely out of hand. Now, in KZN, we have seen billions of rands worth of infrastructure and development destroyed. We have seen far too many lives lost to this violence. It has to come to a stop, and it stops with the leaders of this country. You must remember there are 400 MPs who take responsibility for the safety and security of our country. And at the moment, the very sovereignty of our country is at risk. And if they do not see the president, ministers and MPs working to keep him safe, it's very hard to believe that they are being kept safe.
And I mean, this, I reckon, is a call that the DA is making ahead of discussions around implementing a state of emergency, which would be unprecedented for a democratic South Africa.
Well, I think that, the state of emergency, one must remember, is the very last resort. It takes away all the rights that are entrenched in the Constitution. But what it does do is it gives Parliament extreme oversight over what the government does. And, of course, it's the very, very last call one would make. A state of emergency isn't something that has to be called nationally. It can be called locally in localized areas. We're not saying that that is the only answer. There are many answers that are on the table. But what we need to do is we need to come together as Parliament now, and we need to not have another workshop or another inquiry or another indaba. We need to sit down and we need to physically debate in the House, in public, what the possible solutions are to this problem, and how we're going to stop it stemming. I mean, it started in KZN. We need to make sure it does not spread across the country. And we also need to decide what decisive action we are going to take against those who are instigating the violence, those who are found. I mean, we've now heard very sinister rumors of people within the intelligence agencies and police forces perhaps being involved in these kind of issues. These are the issues that South Africa needs to hear us ventilate, and they need to hear us coming up with solutions. We know what the problem is, but we need the solutions to the problems. And we are only going to find those solutions if we put aside political ideology, we put aside party politics, and we come together as a parliament of South Africa.
Natasha Mazzone, thanks very much for your time this morning on the AM Report. The DA's Chief Whip joining us there on the line. They're calling for an urgent reconvening of Parliament.